Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. I've had some questions on how I store. It's a little more in depth on that. I thought I would discuss some of that right now. What you're looking at here in these 8 bins or totes, whatever you'd like to call them, what you see here is probably around 3,500 listings worth right here in these bins, maybe actually a little more than that. I literally label every bin, and how I do the bin system, I do this for everything. It doesn't matter if you're binning clothing or if you're binning books or whatever the case may be. Even these big totes you see back here behind me, you can label them as well. I've got this one, you don't see a label on it, but there actually is one on the inside. Everybody knows what's in this one. I probably should put another sticker on it, but we all know what it is. Everything else you see has labels on it. Doesn't matter what it is, just so you know. And again, it says the numbers that are included. This is an L1 through L30. And what I do is I'll literally start with a letter. If you want to start at A, just pick A and do a bin for A, a bin for B, a bin for C, a bin for D, and just go straight across the line if that's the way you're doing it. But what we did is we started with letters and numbers for everything. We started with F's for trade cards and then P for postcards. But what we learned later on is that if you're putting postcards and other items that are different size, you can literally put them all in the same numbered bin section. Let's open up one of these. I'm going to take some of these off here, and we're going to discuss literally how I've done it. Let's put a couple more back here. For like this one here, this is how I numbered them all. Inside this bin is the slots numbered P50 through P61. And what that means is literally there's a card in here for P50, there's a card in here for P51, 52, all the way up to P61, and each one tells me where the items are. So in my titles on eBay, if I wanted to tell where an item's going to be, the last part of my title is going to be the number of the bin that this will be pulled from. So like, let's say I'm going to list these cards in here, one of these cards in here. I'm going to list it in P50, which is the one I'm talking about here. And literally this will be listed in the title, P50 at the very last of it. Now if I'm listing this on Amazon, I can literally just use this as the SKU number, P50. And to distinguish the different items in here, it doesn't really matter other than the fact that it's P50. So what I do is I'll do P50-1, -2, -3. So I'll do P50 to whatever it goes up to in that bin. And this many cards are in that section P50. So if I have to find one, I will have to still look through this many cards. It's not a huge ordeal. It just takes a moment because you're going right to the section that they're in. These are like, I think 20 bucks for 250. These I think is what I paid. Got them off eBay or Amazon. I had to cut them down to round them off the corners to fit them in these containers. But I've got it, again, mixed, as I said. There's postcards and any number of different paper items in this bin. Kind of gives you an idea. There's trade cards in here. There's tobacco cards in here. When you're mixing different kinds of items in the same bin, it's easier to distinguish which is which, obviously, because they're different items. So you can double use. In the beginning, when we first did this, we would put a P, again, just as I said, P just for postcards, and only put postcards in that section. But we realized we're using more numbers than we had to, we're using more of these white cards than we needed, and we just literally started F1 and went straight on through to F100 and whatever the case may be. But each one of our these numbers has, say, 50, 60 items of each kind. So there might be 50 postcards, advertising cards. Here's, let's see what this is. This is for malt extract. It's like a quack alcohol-based trade card. Lots of little stuff in here too. But that's how I bin these. I'll do the clothing the same way. It'll be bin A, B, C, D, E, F. The clothing's just thrown in there. You can only fit so many pieces of clothing in one of these big bins, so you might have to look through, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 30 pieces at the most. But when you've got a ton, that's still easier than anything else. It only takes a few minutes. With these bins, again, as I said, they fit 500 or more in each one of them. All kinds of odd items. I mix them all together, cards, whatever the case may be. If it fits in a bin and it's not going to damage the item, I'll stick it in here. Die cuts and stickers and trade cards and whatever the case may be. But again, they'll be all binned up the same way. This bin here holds F74 through F88. And again, I label them all like that. I literally just cut a piece of paper out, write it on the side, and tape it on. On these, let me pull the top one so it don't get lost. Like here, F74. Like this one here, it's literally just been cut down with a pair of scissors. And I've written this on there in magic marker, and then I always put a piece of tape over it so it never wears off. This thing lasts forever this way. These are hard, thick plastic. But that's how I bin them all, and you can see as you go through it here, you've got them all numbered. So if I want to find something and say, let's say, F83, I just go through and get to F83, and then I can literally just pull out the whole entire section. And if there's something I specifically want to see, I'll just pull it out. Like here's a royal card. I can just pull it out, and the rest go back into the bin. They go back on the shelf, and it's just that easy. And in some areas in our storage area, like in records and stuff, I've got the shelves numbered as well too. So it'll be shelf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got a ton of records, a couple 100,000 records. So when you have that many records, it has to be labeled more specifically. So for records, though, we have the shelving itself labeled and each shelf on each shelving labeled too, because it's a lot harder to track down the records sometimes when you've got a ton of them. 45s is kind of slipping together really easily. A lot of our records aren't on eBay. Other places are better. Amazon, we do better on 78s and things like that. Discogs, a lot of the cheaper records, if they're worth less than $100, we usually just throw them up on Discogs. We'll double list or triple list too many of the records. It just depends on the time. But again, anything that you have, you can label it the same way. Clothing bin F1, F2, however you want to do it. Pick up one set of numbers. Let's say you're going to start with F, you're going to start labeling everything. You can label one section F1, like if you're doing postcards or paper, and literally start filling that up. And when I'm starting these off, what I use in these, I'll use these are actually to space it off. So let's say I've got only a couple in here and it's really not filling up the container. They're going to slide all over. So what I do is I literally put these in here. I've taped my paper, I've taped the cardboard tape rolls up so I can stack up a couple. I've got them in many different sizes. These fit perfectly into the bins so that they'll hold the actual cards in place. And again, I can make it as tall or as short as I want until I fill up these bins. That way the cards aren't falling around. So I keep these all the time. I use some of these for mailing some small items too, or we use them for forms for casting items. But these come in very handy for separators. I use them on records. I'll stack a bunch together, and again, I'll just tape them and they'll fill in spaces. But that's part of what I do for my bins. But again, it's just that simple. All you've got to do is start with a letter, label each bin with a letter. And like in the bins themselves, as I said, you can do like, if you're double listing on Amazon, you can do F bin, you can do F-1, F-2, F-3 for like 20, 30, 40, 50 items in that same bin. You can do it on eBay too. You can do F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. Do it that way if that's how you want to do it. There's a ton of different ways to do it. Just pick a numbering system and use it for everything so you know what's going on. And again, as I said, these work great. If you're doing paper items, you can fit a ton of paper items in a little area. These totes, these bins that I got here with the lids, you can get 10 of them from Walmart for like $8.50, maybe like $8.75, somewhere in that range. I know they're on sale for like $8.88 at some point, but I buy them all the time when they're on sale. I usually buy like 20 of them at a time. We've got probably about 100 of these or more full, maybe even more than that. I've got them behind you in the walls. I've got them in the hallway out here. I've got them in the other sections behind me too. These come in very handy. And again, that's how we label everything. Literally everything has a number. Everything has a bin number. And when we also put them in here too, I've got a spreadsheet in Excel for everything. So if I've got like F74, like that's in this bin, I'll put on the spreadsheet F74 and the date that I put the cards in that bin. So if I want to mark down, I can just go down my list in my Excel spreadsheet and it'll say this one was started at this point. So let's say every 90 days I mark down something. So at the 90-day mark or a year mark, or whenever you're going to mark down items, you can set it up on your calendar to go through this section, and then you can mark them off. You can highlight the colors in Excel so you know which ones you've touched, which ones you haven't. Excel is a perfect program to do that. It's cheap, it's easy to use. If anybody wants any advice on that or needs anything, I'll be happy to post some templates down if somebody's interested. Haven't heard a lot of interest in Excel. A lot of people seem to be not wanting to mess with it, but it's really not complicated once you get the basics of it. If anybody would like some of that knowledge, just let me know. But again, I track everything. So I know when these went into the bins. I know when F74 went into a bin all the way through F88. So whenever these went into the bins on any number I've got, I can tell you when they went into the bins, how long I've had them in inventory, and when or if I've ever marked them down. I literally change a color in there to know if they've been marked down or not marked down, or what the case may be. But again, that's how you bin everything. Number it all. You can see very plainly, again, everything you can see has labels on it. Everything I have, I've labeled every bin in here. Even bins that are not items that are listed. And again, if something's just like on eBay or just on Amazon, it says a big A on it or a big E on it. Etsy I have in a separate area, so that's no big deal, and Poshmark would be a P. So that's how I keep the difference on these, if I have a difference. I've got a couple bins that just have a big P, and I have a couple big bins that just have an A. And otherwise, everything is just pickable from any site I have, because as I said, with the SKU numbers on Amazon, I can put F74 dash for whichever many items are in the bin. So if I've got 50 items in F74, I literally would have F74-1 through 50. If I've got 50 items in F75, I'd have, for my SKU number on Amazon, F75-1-2-3-4. So, and again, I can use those in eBay. All I would have to put is F74 in my title, and I would search through the cards. And when I do look through for them from Amazon sales, I don't have to worry about the dash number after the F74. I'm literally just looking for that specific card. So that's literally what I do for the bins. It's something that we wished we would have done when we started off. We have 2 bins. Well, it's dwindled down now. I think it's just over a bin of items that we never categorized with numbers on when we first started. We never thought we were going to do paper. It was mostly clothing at that time. But we've moved to the items that sell the best and give us the biggest profit, which is paper and collectibles. It's a no-brainer. I mean, move to the most profitable items that are the easiest to sell with the least returns. That's what we do. But again, that's how we bin everything. If you have any more questions on it, please let me know. But this works great for us. And as I said, we didn't do it when we started. It was a big pain we had to go through. Then we went through and alphabetized everything that's not from original bin with a number on it. So, but lesson learned, if you're starting off, put a bin. Even if you're only going to think you're going to have one of these, label them like F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then put however many you feel comfortable looking through in each one of those sections inside the bin. Well, that's about it for that. That's really how we do with everything here. Everything's got a bin, no matter what it is. Some items, we just write what it is, ladies' jewelry. But I've got tons of ladies' jewelry, so if it doesn't have a number on well, here, let me show you just a couple more. For the jewelry, everything has a name or estimated price on it, and it's all labeled in here. Some items we do this with. Anything that's over a certain number for jewelry, we have in different jewelry bins. Let's see here. So these are the earlier numbers before a certain number, and like jewelry goes up on this one, here. You can see this is N52 on up. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 bins like this, and then I've got ones that just say necklaces, ones that just say bracelets, and this is just all the other jewelry that's pins and earrings and stuff is in these. So kind of gives you another idea. But you don't have to put a number on it if that's not what you want to do. If it's something that you only have, say 20 or 30 of, and you've got 50 bins, you can put just one bin for just pins or ladies' jewelry or buttons or toys, or like here's another one. This one's just toy soldiers. That's all that's in this bin. It's probably 5 pounds worth of toy soldiers. This is small boys' toys, small girls' toys. Movie star photos, CBS, and then I have other movie star photos behind it, but literally just label it all, put a sticker on it. The worst thing you can do is sell something and not be able to find it. You lose money on it, and you lose your reputation, and even if you cancel that listing because you don't have the item, the buyer can still leave you negative feedback, so just keep that in mind. But hopefully you learned something. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Tell a friend and subscribe if you haven't.